Good day to you all, Iron Maiden fans, and may I say that as we approach the end of the band's catalog, I'm feeling some excitement for these final two albums. This band has been through a lot of changes over the decades, and as they've matured, they've captured some very special songs from the ethers. A Matter of Life and Death was one of the first records I ever purchased by Iron Maiden, and I really dug it. In familiarizing myself with this entire discography over the last year, it's certainly not my favorite, but still contains my top rated Iron Maiden song, For the Greater Good of God, and ranks very high on their list as far as my ratings of them go. Different World and The Pilgrim were early favorites of mine, but have since been shuffled down in the ratings for this album as I listened to the other songs a bit more, but they're still both good songs. The mood and the tone of this record is very palpable as they explore the darkened regions of the human soul, the most painful experiences and their effects on the fiber of our very being as we live through these kinds of things. This record definitely takes you on a quest, and the track sequencing is perfectly balanced as each song unfolds to continue the mood and just bring you along on this journey. With the now current lineup further solidifying their chemistry on A Matter of Life and Death, the song quality stepped up quite a bit from Dance of Death. The songs here are more thought out, better arranged, better projected, lyrically more introspective, and the overall vibe is much more on top of its game than its predecessor. Of course, in typical Iron Maiden fashion, there are the war epics. On this album, there's quite a few of them: For the Greater Good of God, The Longest Day, The Legacy, and These Colors Don't Run. And there's themes of war and battles threading in and out of a few of the other songs as well. This album in particular, much like the X Factor, contains an especially high percentage of war-related songs, which, given that the Iraq War was in full swing, you can understand their preoccupation with war in 2004 through 2006 when this record was conceived and recorded. In spite of the doom and gloom atmosphere at times, the soul and passion dynamics of this album cannot be understated, for they cut right into the core of our being. The love these guys feel for their fellow human beings is a tangible thread that weaves throughout the song structures on A Matter of Life and Death, projecting you into the heart of that particular storm. It's for these reasons that I gladly present to you today a more thorough look into Iron Maiden's 2006 album, and as of the time of this recording, it's their second newest album, A Matter of Life and Death. Here you are. Good day to you all, Iron Maiden fans, and may I say that as we approach the end of the band's catalog, I'm feeling some excitement for these final two albums. This band has been through a lot of changes over the decades, and as they've matured, they've captured some very special songs from the ethers. A Matter of Life and Death was one of the first records I ever purchased by Iron Maiden, and I really dug it. In familiarizing myself with this entire discography over the last year, it's certainly not my favorite, but still contains my top rated Iron Maiden song, For the Greater Good of God, and ranks very high on their list as far as my ratings of them go. Different World and The Pilgrim were early favorites of mine, but have since been shuffled down in the ratings for this album as I listened to the other songs a bit more, but they're still both good songs. The mood and the tone of this record is very palpable as they explore the darkened regions of the human soul, the most painful experiences and their effects on the fiber of our very being as we live through these kinds of things. This record definitely takes you on a quest, and the track sequencing is perfectly balanced as each song unfolds to continue the mood and just bring you along on this journey. With the now current lineup further solidifying their chemistry on A Matter of Life and Death, the song quality stepped up quite a bit from Dance of Death. The songs here are more thought out, better arranged, better projected, lyrically more introspective, and the overall vibe is much more on top of its game than its predecessor. Of course, in typical Iron Maiden fashion, there are the war epics. On this album, there's quite a few of them: For the Greater Good of God, The Longest Day, The Legacy, and These Colors Don't Run. And there's themes of war and battles threading in and out of a few of the other songs as well. This album in particular, much like the X Factor, contains an especially high percentage of war-related songs, which, given that the Iraq War was in full swing, you can understand their preoccupation with war in 2004 through 2006 when this record was conceived and recorded. In spite of the doom and gloom atmosphere at times, the soul and passion dynamics of this album cannot be understated, for they cut right into the core of our being. The love these guys feel for their fellow human beings is a tangible thread that weaves throughout the song structures on a matter of life and death, projecting you into the heart of that particular storm. It's for these reasons that I gladly present to you today a more thorough look into Iron Maiden's 2006 album, and as of the time of this recording, it's their second newest album, A Matter of Life and Death. Here you are. Okay, the opening track, Different World. It's got a nice journeying intro to it. It feels like you're setting out on your own epic quest, and you can also feel the sadness as one's expectations along the way aren't always met. The verses continue this vibe. You find that no matter how well thought out your plans are, you have to be willing to change them and accept that. And there are very strong vocals by Bruce. The accent riffs on guitar are also a good fit for this passage. The chorus that has a nice vocal harmony. It's soft and lovely quality that really fits well with the lyrics that are strong and soulful. A great message conveyed as to loving each moment, relishing the so-called mundane experiences in your everyday life. The post-chorus really reflects the despair of your ego as you can feel trapped by those mundanities, and you experience a kind of hell as you struggle to ignore that voice, but nearly always give into it, at least for the short term, when it rises in your consciousness and you want to wander through to different new experiences. The guitar harmony during the bridge, while simple, is just so amazing and beautiful. It melds all the above experiences into a resolution to ride each wave of emotion that you experience, but not let it sink your ship of progress. The solos during the bridge also carry on this theme very nicely and builds up into the final chorus. Neutral or critical notes, it's a little lacking in the verse riff, not quite enough impact. The projection falls a little short too at times, not consistent throughout the entire song. And the ending is also a bit stale, carries on with the post-chorus passage a little bit too much, and the projection's not fully captured. So, let's take a look at the final rating. Different World receives a final rating of 10.29 out of 13. These Colors Don't Run. It's got a foreboding intro riff and nice, beautiful keyboard accents. It tells the story of impending battle, young boys both looking forward to and dreading being called into service. The pickup for the pre-verse, there is the emotions running high, desperation, sadness that their family members may die in battle from the perspective of the people that are in the land. Helplessness at the situation of killing their fellow human beings from the perspective of the soldiers in battle. The verses are great, the vocals very strong, the riffing conveying well the sweeping waves of conflicting emotions from both soldiers and their families as these experiences unfold. The chorus is powerful, great vocals again. The wall of guitars just cascade over you. It's very well done. The bridge is also awesome. Pacing perfectly blends from the main song body and really projecting well the soldier caught in a nearly hopeless situation, but he also is determined to stay above the onslaught and fighting desperately for his life, struggling against his own fear. The solos in the bridge convey well the battle scenes too, as well as the frantic thoughts of the soldiers. Overall, it's a great arrangement, solid pacing, wonderful dynamic, and the moods are well captured throughout. Neutral or critical, the ending is a little bit repetitive and certain aspects of the projection just did not fully convey the themes from the lyrics, but it's still a great song. So, here's what it got. And These Colors Don't Run receives a 10.66 out of 13. Brighter Than a Thousand Suns. It's got a saddening intro, really conveying the potential damnation of humanity through the use of nuclear weapons. And it picks up as it heads into the verses, a little heavier riff. You can feel the raw power of the atom being unleashed. The verses tell the tale of caution, of the doom of civilization if this power is misused. The post-verse, where he sings about Trinity Reformed, you can feel the urgency for us to cease to use this technology for humanitarian interests instead of a power struggle. A nice slow build-up into the chorus to project the unknowing devastation unleashed through this technology, and it picks up as the bomb is detonated. The bridge verses, the desperation is very strongly felt here. The lyrics are reflecting the different facets of fear felt by those who can see the misuse of atomic power and the ruination of us all if it's projected in that direction far enough. Overall, it's a pretty solid song, conveying fairly well the subject matter, but on neutral or critical notes, there's a little too much repetition of different passages, such as the aforementioned Trinity Reformed pre-chorus, I guess you could say, or post-verse. The chorus itself, too, is a bit repetitive and really bogs down the projection and soul at times and disjoints the pacing a bit between several different movements. So, let's see what the rating is. Brighter Than 1,000 Suns receives a final rating of 9.91 out of 13. The Pilgrim. I always love the intro to this song. The riff really captures the soul of the essence of this song in just a few short measures, and you can feel the journey of the pilgrims and their hope of finding their promised land. The verses tell of the emotional turmoil of their misguided sense of entitlement, their willingness to slaughter other people to prove their point, and they're now awaiting their judgment day. The pre-chorus wonderfully captures this mood a little bit further, and their confidence that they are now doomed to hell for their sins, and repentance seems the only way to vindicate those mistakes that they've made. The chorus reflects the desperation of these people. They're grasping at the straw of religious salvation and intercession, and learning slowly to cope with the world without trying to justify their own ignorance through the lens of religious zeal. The bridge solos do a good job at projecting this battle, literally and figuratively, as the hostile forces of the world close in on them, and they're struggling to cope with it. Neutral or critical, there's a little too much of the pre-chorus and chorus, and not a whole lot of adventurousness to the arrangement. Doesn't fully capture all the moods, I felt, and even though it does have many redeeming elements and a pretty good soul as far as the projection of the song goes. So, let's see the rating. The Pilgrim's final rating is 9.64 out of 13. The Longest Day. The intro captures perfectly the trenches of the battlefield and the dawn of battle approaching. The verse comes in building very slowly as the story unfolds of the building of the weapons and armor, the opposing forces coming, the battle starts, the conflicting emotions closing in at the same time, just a lot going on, and you can really feel the tension mounting. The pre-chorus to this song is one of Iron Maiden's best moments ever recorded. The ambience, the soul, the arrangement of the song itself, and the vocals all work so well to convey the minds of the men who hold on to hope even in the endless torture of battle. It's just amazing. The chorus has a simple arrangement to it, but it conveys so much soul and passion. The desperation of the men in these battles who wish to just go back to their lives for it all to be over. The second verse captures awesomely the gruesome nature of battle, the dead bodies everywhere, the will to survive still beats in the hearts of the living, the hope they cling to against all opposition, and seeing all these atrocities unfolding before them. The bridge is an amazing passage. It's epic, it's bombastic, showcases the different gritty sides of battle, the marching forces, and the looming menace of the men caught in the crossfire. The solo just blasts right through the chaos of all of this. The resonation of the heartbeat of humanity is how I felt it, triumphing over the fear and the destruction and reclaiming its place. The unison after this, during the bridge, further captures this amazingly, yet also showcases the sadness for their fallen comrades and the desire to see an end to the battles for all time. Neutral or critical notes, the chorus is a little repetitive and appears a bit often, but as I said above, it's amazing at the soul and projection department, so that's a pretty minor thing. And overall, not much to criticize. It's phenomenal soul, and it's got great mood and ambience, and it's amazingly arranged. So, without further delay, let's take a look at the rating. And The Longest Day receives a 12.6 out of 13 final rating. Out of the Shadows. The intro is great and really conveys the hope and virtue crawling from the mud of iniquity and madness to be reborn and to try and bring new light to the world. The verses are beautiful. The acoustic guitar and the keyboard really work well together, and Bruce's vocals are just awesome, just nice, soft, lulling melodies, and he's at the top of his game here. Really conveys the faith that we have, that we can triumph from the past savagery of ourselves. The chorus is amazing in that it conveys that we always struggle to use the past as a platform for greater attainment, yet always are succumbing to its glamour and allure and making the same mistakes again. The bridge solos are awesome, very reminiscent, I thought, of the soul and depth that they captured on Somewhere in Time. Just something about the quality of the solos during this passage reminded me of that for whatever reasons. The second part of the bridge, with the acoustic and electric guitar unison, really projecting the never-ending struggle of the human psyche to transcend its boundaries and grab the flame of life from the innermost reaches of itself. The solo is amazing, even though it is pretty brief, and the whole ambience of this, headed into the final chorus, is just beautiful. I loved it. Neutral or critical notes? The chorus is a little repetitive, and it appears quite a bit. I say that about a lot of Iron Maiden songs, and it's just a minor criticism in most cases. So the arrangement also felt a little bit disjointed at times, relies too much on the chorus to carry it through some passages, and overall it's a great song, but suffered at times through a lack of flow or imagination as far as the instrumentation was concerned. So here's what it got. Out of the Shadows gets an 11.08 final rating out of 13. The Reincarnation of Benjamin Breeg. It opens up in the intro with a cool guitar solo. It's got a lot of soul to it, reaching through the murk to find the great beyond and the answers to our lives and the greater truths of our existence. The verse intro, Benjamin, I'm assuming, explains the story of his obsession with the unknown. It's got a great storyteller's vibe to it. The verses are very intense and heavy. You can feel the desperation as he tries to break the bonds of his apparent damnation and the guilt and the insidious emotions pressing in on him from all sides from these disembodied souls that he sees in the twilight zone in between worlds, so to speak, as he tries to reach these higher kingdoms, transcend the material world. Benjamin continuously attempts to weave through all the lost souls that he sees in this world and bring order to the turmoil that he experiences in feeling all of their venomous and emotional vicissitudes as well. The bridge has an awesome unison in it, and it really projects you into Benjamin Breeg's mind as he's always struggling to maintain emotional control in spite of seeing and feeling all of this chaos around him that no one else can perceive. The part 2 of the bridge with the guitar solo, the lost souls are still pressing in on him, coercing him and distracting him from reaching his own enlightenment. Neutral or critical notes? The projection and soul are pretty spotty in this song. Many parts didn't even come close to fully capturing the essence of Benjamin Breeg's desperation. And the hobby song vibe, which I haven't used that term in a while to describe songs on the last few albums, is definitely woven into the body of this song. I felt it wasn't fully there. Like they weren't as passionate about this song. It's my least favorite on the album. So overall, it just lacked a certain spark, and the arrangement felt a little bit lazy and just didn't have enough energy or passion to it. So as a result, this is what it got. And The Reincarnation of Benjamin Breeg receives a 9.12 out of 13. For the Greater Good of God. Got a lot to say about this one. It's my favorite song by them, so I really love the intro. The ambience really conveys the mystique behind the scenes of the power elites in the religious institutions, masterminding psychological manipulation of the masses to do their bidding, to stay in power and hide in the shadows of their own destructive thoughts and emotions. The first verse's intro is beautiful, amazing lyrics. It builds up and showcases the conflicting emotions on the nature of God, the atrocities we commit in His name, not knowing consciously of what He has made. Further, during the verses, chronicles the destruction we continuously bring in upon ourselves to our fellow men and women while still paying homage to a loving God who allegedly also compels us to rid the world of pagans, infidels, or sinners. The verses are amazingly paced, one right into the other. Great arrangement in that regard, telling of the increasing barbarism and savagery that we commit ourselves to in justifying killing each other for a difference of opinion, basically, is what it amounts to. The hypocrisy of our ways and the lack of knowledge of the true nature of the universe, or of the mind of God, if you want to put it in those terms. It conveys that we're quite a desperate race of people at times, and our lack of knowledge, coupled with our inner desire for peace and contentment, brings us to the precipice of hatred and bigotry. It's a saving face measure to cover up our own insecurity of living in this world, and to keep up appearances with the cutthroats, to save our skin, and to try and quell the fires of emotion that churn within us all as we're trying to understand everything and still living our lives and experiencing all these different things from all different angles. The chorus has so much power to it. You can feel the dueling polarities of those who wish to pay homage to the great constructive powers of the universe against those who use the name of God as an excuse to try and destroy others with different beliefs or ideologies. Their hypocritical prophecies and words, and all the instrumentation just rings to the very core of your soul during these passages. The depth is amazing beyond adequate description. I can't say much else about it. It just feels cheapening. The bridge just opens with a bang. Strings really add some depth and power to the intro that carries the tempo and dynamics nicely, conveying the apparent doom of humanity as they continue to kill each other in the name of God. The second part of the bridge has some nice solos that really showcase the conflicting emotions in the minds of religious fundamentalists as they fight for their cause, the undulating tides of bigotry sweeping over them, and also showing the literal conflicts on the battlefields of the world. The third part of the bridge, there's a unison there that I believe it's all three guitar players. It's one of the best passages that Iron Maiden's ever recorded. It's just amazing. It's gotten me to cry at times when allowing the music to overtake me, and it's just beautiful. It conveys so much in this comparatively simple riff that it's really hard to describe it, but it conveys the triumph of the power of constructive minds, the hope and faith of humanity that transcends any petty religious belief, the greater good of God, in essence, triumphing in the end. This is the true nature of the universal mind that we call God, to grow, progress, evolve, forgive, and also seeking to understand. The conclusion of the song, where he discusses Christ and his true cause, which was to bring enlightenment to humanity and not to segregate or conquer for differing beliefs. It's just an amazing end to a phenomenal song. Neutral or critical notes? Not much. Just a little repetition of the chorus, but again, this is paltry criticism for their best song. It's just simply amazing. So go and listen to this song as soon as you possibly can, because it's fucking awesome. So, there's the rating. And For the Greater Good of God receives a perfect 13 out of 13. Lord of Light. It's a very creepy intro. It almost sounds like the voice of the devil, the master manipulator, subjugator, overlord, and the destructive mind of the counter-agent of the universe, just taunting and presenting the facade of infallibility to try and intimidate you into believing him. The pickup of the tempo and the heaviness into the verse is just awesome. You can see the unfolding plans of the counteragent, turning people against one another in the name of different gods, deflecting their attention to keep the power base of the world intact and to increase their domination over the lesser people. The second verse really conveys the realization of those who have been led astray, realizing that the destructive or evil forces were the ones that they had followed, and they see that they're on the path to destruction, and they're trying to warn other people not to fall into this same trap, to learn to see evil for what it is before you commit yourself to it. The bridge solos really convey the torture and sadness and desperation of the victims of this counteragent or the devil. You can hear their cries for help as they're pulled further down into this blackened vortex. The second part of the bridge picks up the pace. Their desperation grows, but they are determined now, even in their spiral into oblivion, to warn others about not taking this path and how to recognize it. Neutral or critical notes, the chorus doesn't really capture a whole lot of emotion, not really faithfully conveying the range of emotions in the rest of the song. Overall, the pacing is just off between the different passages, not flowing as nicely as it could have, so the vibes are a little bit disjointed. Here's what I gave it. Lord of Light's final rating, it is 10.14 out of 13. The Legacy, the concluding track. It's got a really cool acoustic intro, and it's telling the story of soldiers poisoned by mustard gas or other biochemical weapons. A very ominous atmosphere, and it really conveys the tragedy of modern warfare. The second part of the intro, it's got an acoustic build-up, and there's strings, or it's a keyboard, but it sounds like strings. Really add a lot to the mood there, that you can feel the painful and drawn-out torture of the men who have been poisoned, and the ruination of their minds, and their family lives are broken apart. Juxtaposed amidst this is the string section that conveys the power elites' schemes to control the world and manipulate events in their favor. It's the dun 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 dun, and that's spliced into different passages throughout the song to kind of let you know, hey, we're still here manipulating events, and we're gonna win. Rubbing it in your face because of their egotism. The first verse, it's got sludgy guitar. It really conveys the slimy, coercive power of these elites of the world, the rich and powerful. Whether it's religious, political, royal, business, or other wealthy people, their sociopathic and psychotic nature, the remorseless parts of them that tugs on all the emotions of the more constructively minded lower class people in the world for the sake of their own greed and profit. The bridge picks up the pace as more people are becoming aware of this scheming and manipulation. You can feel their anger and pain coming forward as the knowledge sinks in of how much they've been strung along. The solos really convey the conflicting emotions they feel to forgive versus their desire for vengeance, to have these elites atone for what they did and pay them back. And those two aspects of their psyche are constantly battling. The guitar harmony during the bridge really just perfectly captures the hope that we still have, that everybody clings and can turn for the good if we learn to put the fear of the unknown aside, look past superficial differences we have between each other in order to build a better foundation for humanity in the future, to not allow the scheming powers of the world to have their way anymore, to navigate the stream of life with a brighter flame that burns with the fuel of tolerance, love, forgiveness, hope, and a desire to better understand ourselves as well as our fellow human beings, learning to ignore the ignorant and coercive cries of the destructive people of the world. The lyrics overall are very insightful, hopeful, amazing, and they cut right to the meat of the problems of the world. The riff during the final passages further cements the hope that all these people have, that they can overcome the present struggles in the world and find a better way within the next few generations, that we, in being these more constructively minded people, have the necessary faith and determination to seize control of that and not be trodden upon anymore. Neutral or critical notes, the string interlude was used a bit much, but even despite that it conveys a lot of powerful emotions and adds tremendously to the mood of the song. Overall, the pacing and transitions between the different passages could have been smoother, but it's still a fantastic song with tons of passion and insightful lyrics, ambience galore, and a lot of heart and soul. So this is another one I really recommend. So this is what I gave it. And the Legacy receives a final rating of 11.66 out of 13. Okay, so that's it. A track-by-track analysis of A Matter of Life and Death. Now, we're going to take a peek into its final rating and its ranking out of the 15 studio albums that Iron Maiden's released up to this point. Here we go. And in a comprehensive analysis, A Matter of Life and Death receives a 10.81 out of 13 average rating, ranking it third out of 15 studio albums. Alright, as you can see, a phenomenal one of my top 3 favorites, ranking just below Brave New World and Somewhere in Time. And so now that's out of the way, we got one more for y'all in 2 weeks' time, and that's going to be 2010's The Final Frontier. Another very strong effort by the guys, and if these last 2 records are any indication, whenever they put out the next one, hopefully sometime next year, they're probably going to just keep getting better. So, thank everybody again for staying tuned on all these. I've been persevering through it. I haven't always had the motivation to try and put the next review together, but somehow I always find that, and so this is what I got for you. And I'll be seeing you in 2 weeks with The Final Frontier. Peace, everybody.